What's up, family? YouTube podcast world. You already know what it is. Pays and Plays podcast here, man. It is Good Friday, October 27, 2023, the last Friday of the month. Let's get it in. Halloween weekend. You know what I'm saying? If you got ladies, gentlemen, if y'all feeling good for the holiday, go ahead and dress that attire up. You feel me? You got the whole weekend. You got Monday Night Football in the city of Detroit. That would be a big thing as well. So, a lot of good things coming up. But you already know why we're here, right? Best bets on Friday. Throughout the week, if anything, please, I only ask one simple thing. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, pass the word around, and follow the Instagram page, Pays and Plays _ podcast. I will have bets that I'm not broadcasting out. I will have it on my story. If people who saw, they saw what happened, right? We had NBA. Yes, the Lakers should have won that game, and they should have covered, right? Because right when they was between 3 and 5 the whole game, Nuggets came back and was dropped 7-9 points straight, and they ended up losing by 12. So it was a battle, and since we're gonna talk about that, and I watched the Lakers game, and the Lakers didn't cover again against the Suns. It was no D Book, it was no Beal. Shout out to Kevin Durant. He pretty much dropped 39 and 12 and did it all by himself and damn near won against Anthony Davis, who played a lot better than the first game. LeBron was clutch when he needed to be clutch when it mattered. KD would literally nobody else but him pretty much almost had that game won single-handedly. Watching Dame last night, too, that is my favorite player. I will be seeing him soon, too. Yes, I will. My favorite player, man, balled out and closed the game out when it mattered. I think the Bucks will be impressive as the season gets on. The first thing first, though, with that, Giannis straight said, this is Dame's team now. So he giving him the keys. I think that's a good thing because, when people talk about the big three with the Heat, we didn't know who team it was, right? Everyone thought it was D-Wade's team, even though you had Bron and Chris Bosh coming in. And then after they lost that Mavericks finals, it was clear it was LeBron's team, D-Wade mentioned. And, look what happened for some of those championships and finals appearances they made. But, yeah, man, basketball. This is why I said follow the Instagram page. Sacramento Kings -1.5 at Utah Jazz. That cash easily. Pistons +9.5 against the Heat. Pistons almost won, man. Cade is looking nice. They lost by 1 point, 103 to 102, but they still covered a +9.5. We're on it. And you know what? I got one for the night. Let's go. Bulls, money line. I didn't like it at 2.5. I know it's home against the Raptors. And I know they just got blew out against Thunder. And this is why I think it's a good bounce back spot. I always believe, they had a player meeting, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing because the Bulls do have a complete nice team. From 1 through 5, you're looking like that's a pretty interesting team that should be at least in the playoffs, especially when you got DeMar, Levine, you got Vucevic, Patrick Williams. That's just a couple players I'm naming, but like that's a pretty solid team, bro. Like, the bench is pretty solid. Now, if they had Lonzo Ball, we're talking about a different team. Because Lonzo, I know it's been years at this point, but when he got there, boy, that team was balling because he was able to have the shot and he was a good facilitator. So they are struggling kind of with the point guard spot, but it is what it is with that. They played the Raptors, which the Raptors squeaked out a win against the Timberwolves. I don't think they should have won, but shit like that happens. Scotty Barnes, he's impressive, but I think he's the best player, him and Pascal. And other than that, you got a lot of younger pieces. There's no more Fred VanVleet, so I think that point guard spot was still, OG Anunoby is solid, but it's just the backcourt that I kind of having questions on, But I expect the Bulls to bounce back as at home. Bulls money line. If you like the -2.5, that's cool. But I got it at -130 for the money line. I think that's pretty solid. But like I said, man, follow the Instagram. Also, college football. We'll get into that. We'll transition. Last night, Georgia Southern -1. That cashed. We also had what the fuck was it called? I didn't mean to get that. We also had good old Virginia Tech. I'm glad they bounced back, bro. Good win against Syracuse, -3. So already ahead, we are 2-0 in week 9 of college football. And we're going to go into it with the one pick I have for this Saturday. And we're going to talk about, of course, the Colorado game, because everyone's going to talk about Colorado now. But we're going to have Old Dominion plus 21. Yes, plus 3 touchdowns against James Madison. And I know James Madison is now ranked, and they're a team that second year into Division I. And, you know, they've been pretty solid in the Sun Belt Conference, but Old Dominion has been very underrated. They've been winning a lot of games. The games that they lost has been all within 5 points or less. This is kind of an in-state rival game because it is Virginia teams, so I expect it to be a closer game. And if you're James Madison, you're probably going to take this team for granted and you're probably a little big-headed. Think about it. We're just now ranked. We're now top 25 in the nation. That's big. But you can't sleep on a team like this coming in. It is a rivalry game. So I'll be going with Old Dominion plus 21. It was 21 plus. It was 21. No, it was 20 and a half plus money. And I just missed it. But fuck it. I'll take the extra half a point and get that 21. All right, NFL. We got a teaser, 2 bets, and we got a lean. So we'll start with the 2 official bets. Actually, I'll talk about Colorado first. Why don't I just go off with that? Colorado plus 16.5, plus 17 in some books against UCLA. As you guys know, I do have a future bet, and I'm mad that they blew that 29-point bullshit lead against Stanford. UCLA is vulnerable in this spot. Am I saying Colorado's going to win? No, but they're vulnerable because Chip Kelly is still doing this 3-quarterback system shit. And I know you blew out Stanford, right? The same team that beat Colorado. But you can't sleep on, Colorado, the fact that they can score. And I think Pac-12 is, honestly, you have to say, it's probably the best slept-on conference no one talks about because it's always a game. At least 2-3 games out the Pac-12 is always a good-ass game some way, somehow. And Coach Prime, I feel like they needed that bye week, right? That bye week helped because that 29-point fucking deficit you guys had and blew it, that's bad. It's kind of like get back to the old, get back to basics, get back to where we fucked up at and focus on UCLA. UCLA does have a solid defense, but passing defense is in. Passing the ball has been a little suspect. They can run the ball. Now, that will probably be Colorado's biggest challenge. The over-under is at 64.5. I say it goes over if Colorado has a fight. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? They were like 20-point dogs against USC. You see how they were down by 20-some points. They only lost by 7. We already know about TCU that was plus 21-point underdogs. They outright won. So within that range, I mean, yes, they lost to Oregon, but that was just a bad matchup. I don't really know how UCLA is going to handle the offensive side. So there is a chance. Because if there's fireworks on both sides, I expect this to go over. And I still expect Colorado at least lose by maybe 10. Anywhere from 3 to 10 points. That's like the range I can see them losing to. I'm hoping they win outright, though, so I can cash just one more ticket I have for the season and we can call it a day. Now we can go to the NFL, right? And I already mentioned what I got. So we're going to go with the first official bet. We got the Indianapolis Colts versus New Orleans Saints. I'm taking the Saints to win this game. -1. Now, some people will wonder, why would you pick -1 in certain picks and blase, blase? All right, now, the money line isn't bad. I think from what I've seen, it was 112, 115. But, when the spread's about -107 to -10, it's all about the cents at that point, right? If a team's -120 and then it's -1 and it's -110, you would rather take that 10-cent difference and just put the -1. And as long as they win the game, you fucking won your bet, which is what I've been doing, which is why I said Georgia Southern last night was so clutch for me. Now, that's why I'm doing -1. I don't never knock it off if you do money line. So don't ever say I won't ever encourage the money line. I encourage the money line if it's like -3, then I can see why you say, all right, I can do the money line, right? It makes sense. I'm not knocking it at all. I fuck with the money line. I've even sit there and say pick money line sometimes. But in this occasion, though, it's just a win, right? Good odds. Both defenses are good. Saints defense is a little better. And you have to wonder, right? Is this the game that Derek Carr has a great game? You know, the Colts did lose some players from suspension, some players from injuries on defense. And we saw what Gardner Minshew, the Browns should have covered that game outright. We can be real with that. But we saw the issues that Gardner Minshew was having last week with 4 turnovers. So I can only wonder, what if another defense that can do the same thing as Cleveland did, can do the same thing to you? And I mean, Jamal Williams will be playing. We know Al Kamara will be playing. We know Chris Olave, even though he just had that DUI and try to say I played for the Saints and try to play it off for the officer, that wasn't going to work. I could have told him that. But anyway, I think he bounced back. The Saints defense is still legit. I'm going to go with the Saints -1. Or do the money line if that makes you feel more comfortable. But -1 still. Just a win, bro. Come on now. Next game. This is going to be a nasty game. I wouldn't encourage people to sit there and watch this like I will be watching this. New York Jets -3 at home. Well, neutral site game against the Giants, right? Giants, they've been impressive as of lately, right? With Tyrod Taylor coming in and holding it down for a little bit. I told you guys Daboll is going to move the ball up and down because that's just how good Daboll is as an offensive coordinator mindset, all right? But the offensive line is not shit, and they have not – bro, if you thought 11 sacks like what the Seahawks did against this line would be some shit, imagine the damn Jets defensive line coming your way. Y'all know who's on the line for the Jets. I don't even need to explain that. I just think the fact that it'll be solid field positions for the Jets. I don't care if it's Tyrod Taylor playing. I don't care if it's Danny Dimes playing. And now there's the uncertainty about Saquon. I got this earlier, but I've seen where some books don't even have the Jets and Giants. I don't know what that's about. Maybe it's an injury that I didn't know about that's coming up. But and yes, guys, please check the injury report. I do. But a lot of times, shit happens where, people unexpectedly don't play because they just don't feel like playing. Deshaun Watson, that sounds like you. But pay attention to all that, man. I know Barkley was questionable. I know Dimes is questionable. The Jets is all healthy, though. And I have to say, Zach Wilson has been he's improved. I feel like every game he's gotten better and better some way, somehow. And maybe you think maybe it is Aaron Rodgers kind of talking to him a little bit, right? Because when Aaron Rodgers, when he plays and he has to be done with the Jets, you probably would think Zach Wilson will probably be the guy where he, which they want him to be a franchise quarterback anyway. But the fact that you got somebody like, Aaron Rodgers around you as a quarterback whisperer, you're kind of going to be all right. But Jets to win and cover the -3. Now, this is a lean for me, and I'm probably going to think about this until kickoff if I'm going to do it. The Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I've seen them after I heard about, and I apologize because I did say his name wrong on a Week 8 video, which if you haven't already, check that out if you don't like none of my best bets I have here. Brock Purdy, not Bryce Purdy, Brock Purdy is not playing. So you're giving me Sam Darnold, which I used to bet with this fucking guy, and this guy fucking chokes. And the Niners defense, let's be real, bro, 400 yards against the Vikings with no JJ. I mean, bro, you would have thought Dalvin Cook and all them, Adam Thielen and Diggs was back in that fucking lineup if you'd have told me they gave up 400 yards. So, and the offensive line for the Vikings wasn't impressive. Now, they do play against the Bengals, and the thing about the Bengals that makes me worried, they don't have offensive line. They don't. Bro, they haven't had offensive line since Joe Burrow has been in the fucking league. They just haven't. How many games have they lost because of offensive line? Super Bowl. Why did they lose that? Offensive line issues. I mean, that's like my only really concern, because I just know Nick Bosa's coming around the corner, bro. That's just me. When I look at everybody else, Fred Warner's going to beat up in injuries, bro. Greenlaw's beat up with injuries. You know, the secondary is okay. But like I said, when your secondary gives up 400 yards to Kirk Cousins, what do you think Burrow could do? You know what? I don't even think it's going to be a high-scoring game. It might be a 17-14 game, 20-14 game. I can see it being that way. It opened at 5.5, and then it went to 3.5. Now it jumped up to 4.5. So I will be leaning to Cincinnati, but I actually will want them to win outright. So that will probably be a lean. I got to see how the 1 o'clock games go because that's a 4:25 game, and then I'm going to decide what I'm doing on that one. And, of course, you guys already know I got the teaser for the week, man, okay? This time I'm not going to hesitate because I got my phone here, and I'm going to call it out. But, of course, you'll see on the screen as well. We're going to have Philadelphia from -7 to 0. The Saints from -1 to +6. The Miami Dolphins from -9.5 to -2.5. The Baltimore Ravens from -9.5 down to -2.5. The Chargers from -8.5 to -1.5. I do assume that Justin Fields will not be playing, so that is why I feel more comfortable with that one. And we're going to have the Detroit Lions, Motown on Devil's Night, -7.5 down to -0.5. And you know what? While we're talking about the Lions Monday night, let's talk about that. I've already said last week why they weren't going to win against the Ravens. And I'll piggyback to what I said week 8 picks. By the way, check that out. I'm going to say that one more time. Check out the week 8 videos. And we're available on podcast form still, so this has not changed. I talked about the city of Detroit never saw the Lions win 4 games in a row. We're used to seeing them lose 4 games in a row. So eventually that winning streak had to end some way, somehow. And the Ravens, have been a lot better. So we expected that. With them coming back home, and this is why I kind of stay away from primetime games. My initial thought would be the Lions to cover. Last night should have showed everybody why I don't do Thursday night games. I said Buccaneers was going to cover, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. Where if Godwin would have turned around maybe a half a second earlier, we're talking Buccaneers win the game on a Hail Mary. You know, I mean, I got the Chargers and the Lions and the teaser in their primetime games as I'm talking about primetime games, but very, around key numbers, so 1.5, 2.5, that's solid. But with Lions, all right, so we'll talk about it. First Monday night game in about 5-6 years. So it's been a minute. You are playing against the Raiders now. I'm hearing Jimmy G supposed to be playing this game. And, we'll see. He's one fucking hit away from going back to the injury, to the locker room. That's just how Jimmy G is. Jimmy G is very fragile. But I do believe that the Lions are pissed the fuck off. I mean, bro, they got blew out, what was it, 35-0 at the half? I'll always say when you get blew the fuck out, you usually bounce back the next week. And I'm going with the Lions to cover the 8.5, but I seen 8. But I'm seeing some of it at 8.5. If it goes to 9, that obviously I got on FanDuel and I was -7.5. I think that's a solid play. But once you get past to like 9, we're talking about 9 by probably kickoff. I'm not touching that number. But I expect them to win this game. It's going to be a big game for the city. But as always, guys, hit the like button, subscribe, all them good things. We're still available on podcasts, wherever you get it from. As always, guys, be safe out here, and let's get this motherfucking money.